Hello everyone, welcome to the video on significant figures. When we take a measurement using some type of measuring device, we get measured numbers, and these are numbers that you obtain when you measure a quantity such as height, weight, temperature, etc. When measuring numbers, you will always want to estimate to one digit based on the device that you are using and how precise that device is. In a measured number, significant figures, I like to call them sig figs, are all of the digits including the estimated digit. And these are the numbers that are said to be significant and the numbers that we need to report, whether it's in a calculation or based on laboratory experiments. So we are going to review the rules for significant figures and talk about which numbers are significant and which are not, and show examples of these. All non-zero digits are significant. So if we look at examples, so something like the number 778. We would say this number has 3 significant digits because they are all non-zero digits. We could have a small number, such as 12. There would be 2 significant figures. Or we could have a number as large as this number here, and we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We would have 8 significant figures. Since all non-zero digits are significant, we want to look at zeros because that is what we are going to be concerned with, of whether or not is a significant zero or if it's not significant. Sandwich zeros, as I like to call them, these are zeros between 2 non-zero digits, and that's why I call them sandwiched, because they're sandwiched between 2 non-zero digits, and these are significant and they hold a place. So if we look at the number, for instance, 101, we would say that there are 3 significant figures. Okay, we could look at a number like this. Okay, and because all 4 of these zeros are sandwiched between 2 non-zero digits, it makes all of these digits, all of these zeros, significant. So we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We would have 7 significant figures. Okay, we'll look at one more example. Okay, we'll look at this number. We have 2 zeros, and both of those zeros are sandwiched between 2 non-zero digits. Therefore, all of these numbers are significant. So we have 3, 6 significant figures. Next, we're going to look at trailing zeros, and these are just the zeros at the end of a number, and I like to call them trailing zeros. And they are after, if they are after a decimal place, so this is the key point here. If the numbers follow a decimal place, then they are significant. So if we look at a number such as if we look at this number, we would see that we have 3 zeros, whether it's 4, 2, how many ever zeros that are after a decimal point. These are going to all be significant. So we would have 6 significant figures. Okay, so if we look at another number, let's see, 3.2. Okay, so we know our non-zero digits are significant, but now we want to look at our zeros. And here we have two zeros that are trailing, so they're at the end of the number, but they follow a decimal place. Therefore, we would have 5 significant figures. Now we are going to look at the two possibilities for zeros that are not significant. I call these zeros leading zeros, meaning that they are zeros before a non-zero digit. Okay, so let's look at an example here. Okay, our leading zeros are not going to be significant. So if we look at a number such as this, okay, we have 4 zeros that come before or lead up to a non-zero digit. And so all of these numbers here would not be significant. And so we would have one significant figure. Okay, so if we look at, so in chemistry we normally have units, where I haven't been showing units here, but let's say we have 0.065 centimeters. Okay, we have 2 zeros. We know our 2 non-zero digits are significant. We have 2 zeros. These are preceding a non-zero digit. So they're not sandwiched and they're not trailing a decimal place. So if they lead, then they are not significant. Mark through them. So we have 2 significant figures. Okay, so let's look at an example such as okay, so this might look a little complicated for you, but let's go through the rules thus far. Okay, so if we look at we have 2 number 2s, so we know that we definitely at least have 2 significant figures. So now let's label these. Okay, so if we look at our zeros, these are leading zeros. Okay, they come before any non-zero digits. Therefore, they are not significant. Oh, excuse me. There we go. Not. Hang on. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so they're not significant. All right, so if we look at these 2 zeros, okay, these are sandwiched between 2 non-zero digits. Okay, therefore, they're going to be significant. So these are significant, or are significant figures. Okay, and we also saw that if we have a trailing zero, so this one's a trailing zero because it's at the end, okay, it's at the end, and follows a decimal place, or a decimal point. Okay, so if we look at this 0, it follows a decimal point. Here's our decimal. Therefore, it is significant. Okay, so if we add up all of these significant figures, okay, our first 3 are not. So we'll start here at the 2. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we would have a total of 5 significant figures. So far, we have looked at zeros that are trailing zeros that followed a decimal place, and we know that those are significant. But what about the trailing zeros at the end of a number that do not follow a decimal place, and these are not significant? So if we look at an example of this, okay, let's look at a number such as this. Okay, we have 3 non-zero digits that we know are significant, and then we have 3 zeros, but we have no decimal place present. Therefore, these 3 zeros are not significant. Okay, so we would have 3 significant figures. Okay, and so we could have a really, really large number. We could have zeros going on all the way across the page, but none of them are significant unless we have a decimal place. So here we would have 2 significant figures. Okay, but if we put a decimal place here, so let me see how many zeros we have over on this side. 3, 6, we have 8. Okay. Now our trailing zeros follow a decimal place, so all of them are significant. So now we would have 8 zeros plus 2. We would have 10 significant figures. Okay, so let's look at 2 more examples. Okay, so let's look at this number here. Okay, we've got 2 non-zero digits. We know they'll be significant. And now we have to classify our zeros. We have 1 zero that's sandwiched between 2 non-zero digits, so we know that it is significant. And then we have 3 that are trailing zeros that do not follow a decimal place. Therefore, they're not significant. So we would only have 3 significant figures. Okay, let's look at one more. So if we had a number such as this, okay, we have a sandwich 0. So our 1 and 2 are significant. We have a 0 between there, which we know sandwich zeros are significant. We have 2 more zeros before the decimal and then 2 more after. So we have 4 trailing zeros. Okay. So these trailing zeros are indicated with a decimal place. So there is a decimal place present. Okay, therefore, these are going to be significant. So all of these numbers are significant. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 significant figures. Okay, we'll actually do one more example. See if we can find a place. Okay, so we have 3 types of zeros here. We've got our leading zeros. Okay, we've got sandwich 0, and then we have a trailing. Okay, we know that zeros that lead or that come before any non-zero digits are not significant. So that these 3 zeros here will not be significant. We know that our sandwich 0, the 0 between the 2 non-zero digits here, they're both 2s, is significant. And then we know that our trailing 0 follows a decimal place, therefore it is significant as well. So we would have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 significant figures. This concludes the video on a review over the rules for significant figures, and you will want to follow this video by watching the video on significant figures in calculations. Thank you.